to understand what the teacher is saying. So the young girl in the evening goes home. Remember, she's a 6 or 7-year-old girl. And she tells the mom, week after week, what is happening at school. That there's this boy who the mom also knows because they are neighbors, who doesn't seem to understand what the teacher is saying. And then finally, the girl thinks, I think I've sung this song too long. Let me ask my mom for a solution. So the girl asks the mom, could we have so-and-so coming over so that I can start teaching them so that when we go to class, they are actually at par. And the mom allows, the mom talks to the mom of the boy, and the boy starts coming in. That girl continues through her education, but every now and then, when the teacher is out of class, she finds herself trying to explain to the other kids who are lagging behind what the teacher was actually saying. Fast forward to she finishes high school, and in her mind, she's thinking one thing she's sure about is that she wants to keep sharing her knowledge. But she's not very certain about her career. She has performed well, so she has several options. And top on the list is medicine, which she misses, and she's called for something else, engineering. But eventually she goes to campus, pursues a career, not teaching, not something that is about teaching. But many years later, maybe 10 or so years after she leaves campus, she finds herself in an environment of a college, teaching other people what she has learned in her life. There's another character number 2. So we've learned character number 1 is a girl. Character number 2 is this young boy who, kama ni siku hizi tutasema ni machachari, mjuaji. So the parent can tell, this boy is beyond his years. So yeye ni ule mtu anajua tao, they live in Nairobi, anajua tao paka anashangaza mamake. Wakipita hii street, the next time he's the one telling the mom, by the way, mom, tunaweza tumia hii shortcut. And the mom is wondering, ulijulia wapi? So this boy, very playful, very, very talented. He goes through school and he's the very active one. He's the one in drama festival, singing. By the time he's in high school, he's made to take all the positions in school. Okay? Anakuwa head boy, anakuwa all those that you can think about. And then when the KCSE comes, the results are out. This boy has not performed well. But the potential is still there. So eventually this boy tries a little of business. Eventually he gets an opportunity to go abroad to the UK. He studies architecture. And then he comes back to Kenya, does not find a job. He stays for about a year. Remember, he's still the multi-talented boy. He decides to start accompanying his brother, younger brother, to Kenya Poly because he's bored at home. And while at Kenya Poly, he discovers there's a new game in town. There's a coach from America who is teaching people how to do some game. It's called Kempo, martial arts. So this boy thinks, okay, now that I don't have a job yet, I'll be more constructive doing sport. So he's there for about 3, 4, 5 months. Then the first match is planned for. He enlists. He fights and he wins. Within a year, the guy is starting to show up in the chart of athletics in the country. It's a new sport. So he makes it to the Kenyan team, and they have to go for a competition in the US. And long story short, he finds himself in the US with a scholarship to study. But while he's in the US, he realizes, remember he was an architecture graduate, he realizes that he cannot penetrate that market. So while he's there, he seeks guidance, and somebody tells him medicine is what sells here in America if you want to penetrate. So the guy enlists for school, starts evening class or day class. He enlists for day class, starts from year 1. Remember, he had gone up to year 5 in architecture. Starts from year 1, he enlists for nursing, and at night he's a cleaner in some of the buildings in the US, and he does that for maybe close to 6 or so years as he studies. And today, as we speak, he's just about to graduate with a master's in anesthesia. He's now an anesthetist. That's a field in medicine. Wale watu wanafanyanga watu walale before surgery. Another character number 3. I have 4 characters. I hope you are keeping track of my characters. Are you? Character number 3, another boy, equally talented, playful. He has a problem with the parents because when the exercise books are bought, he starts drawing from the back. So the 200-page akifanya kazi ya class mbele zinakutana na drawings katikati. So a book that should have lasted a term lasts a month because half of it is drawings. And that is not a very good thing, even for the teacher. Akifika pale katikati anakutana na drawings. So the boy is an average student all the way from primary. That's how he has been ranked. So he goes into secondary, just at a district school in Nairobi, does a lot of singing, does a lot of drama. But this boy, since he was a child, he's been having drawings, cuttings actually, cuttings on his wall where he sleeps. Beside his bed, he would get magazines, cut pictures of aeroplanes, jets, stick them on the wall. And that was his dream. So every day when he wakes up, he sees these jets. Fast forward, he's done KCSE, he has gotten his grades. He does not perform well. And of course, he's distressed for about a month or more. And he realizes, hey, I have to wake up. There's life. What do I do with my life? So he's enlisted. The dad asks, what are you going to do? And since he's taking too long to make a decision, the dad goes and enlists him to a polytechnic to do electronics. While he's there, he goes to school. While he's doing electronics, he passes by and realizes there is a class on aeronautic engineering, on aircraft, what he has been dreaming since he was a child. So he goes, he follows up at the administration. They say, this is an ongoing class, but we've not had quorum for a while to launch a new class. But the boy is so persuaded that that's where he belongs. He comes back home and tells the father, I'm willing to take a hold on the electronics so that you don't waste fees, so that I wait for the aeronautic class. In the meantime, the boy starts to learn Spanish. And he doesn't go to class, he just, there are these guys who sell second-hand books. He goes to those second-hand guys, he looks for Spanish books, he buys, and he starts learning Spanish in the house. And he learns Spanish for a whole year before he can get into the aeronautic class. That's character number 3. Fast forward, the boy finishes college, gets a green card, goes to the US, Today, he's an aeronautic engineer with the US Army. The fourth character, another boy. The boys are privileged. They're having a lot of examples. Character number 4. Mnakumbuka hao watatu, what their journey is like. The character number 4 is a young boy, again, very, very loving person, very kind, the kind of boy you like to be his friend when you are young. The one who shares, the one who is considerate, is just that boy who is a good person. But this boy, again, doesn't seem to get it in class, just like the first character. But this one is worse. This one is lagging way behind his ears. And then what happens, of course, he gets it rough in school. He starts maybe hating school because he's being, talked down on by maybe the teacher, sometimes beaten. So eventually, this boy just sails through primary school with no much expectation on his results. So his results are not a shock. Actually, for many years, he was the second last person in the class. So it was known that this is a poor student. Fast forward, in high school, the father decides to be taking him to accompany him to business. So his father had a business. So holiday time, weekends, the boy is working with the dad in the business premise. Fast forward, 20 years later, the boy is working in a college teaching IT. Don't ask me how he got there. Now, the first character, that girl who had a passion of teaching, went through different careers, was wondering when will she ever teach, is actually me. Okay? So today I work with KRA, and I am working at the college, but it's been a journey of going through different careers or different assignments, because career is basically that life journey. So until today now, I'm doing what really I feel that is what I was shaped to do, to teach. That is one of the gifts God gave me at birth. I want to believe so. The second character, do you remember who the second character was? Who was it? Second character? Yes? The machachari guy, the one who's now a nurse, who is graduating this year with a master's in anesthesia. The machachari guy is my firstborn brother. Okay, so this April we are celebrating him. He's graduating, but if he's my firstborn brother, remember he's not a young guy. He's married and he has kids, okay? So his change of career came a bit much later. I think towards when he's heading his 30s is when he had to change his career. The third born boy, who was he? Remember the story? The third character, the aeronautic engineer, is my other brother. I only have two brothers. In fact, when my brother, remember he was always, as long as we know him, he was always an average student, according to us. But the day my brother got into Kenya Poly and started to do aeronautic, it's like his mind just opened. He topped the class. You know, engineering, when he was doing his aeronautic, I was doing my degree. So we would occasionally, because I was in campus most of the time, but when I'll come home for weekends, when our books are on the table, it's like I'm doing child's play, and him is doing the real stuff. You know, engineering is where you find a book this thick called Calculus 1. But this boy, who was never a mathematician to us, became one. And my dad always used to ask, what happened to you? Because we have never known you as a mathematician. We've known you as the artistic person. But he connected with his passion and his interest. And I think math all of a sudden made a lot of sense. The fourth character is a good friend of mine. This boy was my desk mate from class 1, maybe all the way to class 7. And I lost contact with him after high school. I knew he was very involved with his dad's business, and that's where I left it at. But during this corona time, you know, not this, we are in another phase of corona. Last year, when it started, I was working from home. Even now, I've started working from home this week again. So when you are online, I mean, if you are working online throughout, you tend to be more active socially on the social media platforms. So I saw somebody chatting me on Facebook, and immediately I saw the names. I knew, this is the boy who used to be my desk mate. I mean, he had such unique 2 names. I can never forget them. And then the question he asked me is, can you remember me? And I'm like, I remember you by both names. And I was so excited to connect with him, maybe after I don't know how long, since high school is when I had last seen him. And then, of course, trying to catch up. Where are you? I said, I'm in Mombasa. I said, I'm still in Nairobi. He asked, what do? I said, I'm a teacher. I am a facilitator in a college. So I asked the same, what do you do? And he says, I am a facilitator of IT. Now, remember the first character was me. I'm the one who used to teach him and teach so many other kids. I was the A student. I got an A. He was the ones that people can give up on, the ones whose grades are not talked about. But today, look at that destination. You know, we are not yet there, but maybe look at that stopover. Now I am at the college teaching taxation and customs. My friend Alan is at a college, same career, teaching IT. Now, we can draw some lessons from these journeys, and that is what I thought I share with you. The first lesson we can draw is that, number 1, there is no wasted experience. Everything that you will go through life, assuming today your parent has an M-Pesa shop, for example, and you are being asked to assist in that M-Pesa shop, what is happening is that you are gaining some experience. And that experience is such a blessing if you would know it. There is somebody else and so many of us who will never sell in an M-Pesa shop. There are skills you will learn in that M-Pesa shop that so many of us will never learn. There is no wasted experience. My brother, who did, in the America, it's called janitorial work. He did that for 6 years as he did his bachelor's in nursing. Today, my brother has skills. In fact, if he comes and we go with him maybe to a building, he has a way of connecting with workers. He has a way of connecting with people you would never imagine. There is a skill he picked from his janitorial work that I do not have. There is no wasted experience. So the experience doesn't start when you finish school. It is now as you live life. There is something you are doing now that is an experience that builds into your career. Number 2 is that we go to school to learn how to learn. Ebu ambia your neighbor Lester ameanza kudrift thinking about lunchtime, mwambie we go to school to learn how to learn. That was Bob Collimore's motto. I read it in a newspaper because those, you remember, how many have heard of that name, Bob Collymore? You remember he was the Safaricom CEO, the late, and he was saying that he had never been to an IT school. He had not done IT. He had not done telecommunications. But he managed the biggest telecommunication company in sub-Saharan Africa. If you look at his path, he was saying, I basically went to school to learn how to learn. So what are we drawing there is that you must have a teachable spirit. Okay, ambia mwenzako, have a teachable spirit. So everything that can be learned, please learn it. It can just be something as simple as some cooking. It can be something as simple as, trying to help mom do something in the house. I remember when I was young, and that's why I'm saying the experiences are from the childhood. My mom had a sewing machine, and almost all of us learned how to sew. And that is an experience that we all gained. Today, I'm yet to perfect it. I just bought a machine last year. I want to resume to perfect that skill I gained as a child. But today, if I go to my sister's house, I find she does her curtains. She does so many of the things. Why? She has a skill. Where did that experience come from? Did it come from a job that she was employed? It came from the opportunities that were there as she grew up. She took advantage of them. So, be teachable is number 2. Number 3 is that you need to understand that your destiny is secured in God. Ebu ambia jirani yako, your destiny is secured in God. If you look at these 4 characters, at the beginning, ni character gani utasema huyu atatoboa? Out of the 4, who had maybe the 2 who had most potential? Character 1 to 4. I need your engagement, yes? Just shout, either character 1, number 2, number 3. Ni nani ungesema huyu ndio akona high chances? Yes? Yes? Which character? 1 to 4. 1. He thinks 1. Another character? What do you think? 1 or 2? The gentleman with specs? 1. 1 seemed to have some potential. 2 pia na hiyo machachari yake. 3 needs some help. 4, huyo ni maombi. And then tutaona where they will end up. But look at where they are today, because now I've given you the current scenario. Really, you realize that your destiny is secure in God's hand. And so the issue is, are you utilizing what is available for you? Stop worrying about your future. Stop comparing yourself with another, because it doesn't mean because the other person is more talented in class than you, then they are guaranteed to succeed, you are not. Doesn't work that way. Now, the minute you know that your destiny is secure, it means then you can look at life positively. Yes, kuna tough situations at home, but you can see them as experiences. There are people who are very good at negotiating. In fact, one of them is a good friend of mine. I spent the last evening with them. And they are telling me how they learned negotiating as small children. They knew how to treat their dad very well, so hawa hawakupata kichapo. Walikuwa wanajitetea, wanapatana na dada kiuko kwa barabara, they take the things amebeba. Today, that person can earn money out of negotiation. So I'm saying that your destiny is secure in God's hand. So no one has higher chances of a good destiny than another. And I know you read the Bible. What does Jeremiah 29:11 say? Anyone who knows what Jeremiah 29:11 says? I can hear, yes? Excellent. What's your name? Tracy. Tracy is a Bible scholar. Nasema, I know the plans I have for you, not for another person, for you. They are plans to prosper you, to give you a future and a hope. Now, what I would like to encourage you is to utilize the opportunities. As I've said, life will pose opportunities to us, and those opportunities will not be the same. Utilize them. Utilize them. Utilize them. I cannot overemphasize that. Now, when we come to the emerging trends, I know the stories I've given are my stories and my siblings' stories and my friends' stories. Now, your story. When I was growing up, in fact, nakumbuka something like video games, I think came up when I was maybe in class, maybe two or three. I was pretty young. My machachari brother, who is our eldest in the family, he came. That time he had finished high school. He came with the first video game. It was like spaceship. He may arrive home. We all gathered for a meeting to study it. And my parents were away. Walikuwa wametravel. Walikuwa wameenda ushago. So he told us how it's connected, and we are there. We are thinking, hey, we have a scientist in the house, a spaceship guy. So he connected the thing to the TV, and the next thing we saw was a big smoke from the TV. And that was the end of our TV. For many years, we didn't have TV because we tried to connect to a video game. Of course, that is not your life. Nyinyi mmekuwa with all the technology available. So when I was growing up, my scope of job market was Kenya, was maybe even the geographical location. Today, your market where you can be employed is the world. And the world is at your fingertips, is at your screen. So I'm trying to say that it means that you really need to see that this time you're living in, as much as it has its challenges, it's only you who can limit yourself. Sometimes I see, mnakumbuka, there was a guy on TV anaitwa Larry Madowo. Mnamjua? I follow him on Twitter. And I like his story because I know Larry came from, he's not coming from a well-to-do, affluent upbringing. I mean, he's a guy who grew up in Kisumu, and they had their share of hardships with their sister. But today, Larry is reporting for BBC America. And I like to see even the way he talks. And I'm like, this guy from sijui wapi, no, Kisumu, sijui hizo mitaa, but the mtaa he grew up in, ni zile mtaa zenye ziko down, not a good neighborhood. But I'm like, this guy, you can tell he's even doing better than his counterparts who are from America. Now, I'm sure before they interviewed Larry, I also have a friend still in BBC called Richard. That one I know him personally. But like Richard grew up in Jericho. He's a guy I knew as we grew up. Richard has not even been to a media school. The mom could not afford it from a single mom. But today, something that you do on TV, because Richard started on radio, can actually find its way to America and Europe without you going physically. So even for them to interview you is very easy. They just tune into your radio station or the TV program you host, and they're able to see who you are. So today, look at that technology as an opportunity. Technology can be destructive, but it can also be very instrumental. I look at how your learning can be enhanced by technology. The geography, I used to love geography, but I feel like I got a raw deal. Because a lot of the things I used to use my mind to imagine. Like, nikisikia hizo iceberg. And you know that time, ni zile siku, we only have KTN and KBC, I think NTV came a bit later, my days. So, hakuna kitu kama ati naitwaje ya geography something. National Geographic. I can't Google what an iceberg is. So I used to imagine those stuff. And zingine mpaka wa leo sijuangi zinakaaje. But for you, you can see it visually. Because it's just at the tap of a phone, you just Google and see the picture, how it looks like. Today, you can learn Spanish or French. My brother today utilizes his Spanish. In the US Navy, there are a lot of Mexicans in the US. You can learn a language not like we learned. Our school was, in our high school, we were the best in French in the country, nationally. Exam-wise, we used to lead. But, of course, we used to laugh about it. Whenever we'll go for symposiums, we had a Kisii teacher, with all due respects to the Kisii. But then here, Kisii and French, zinaendanga pamoja vizuri sana, okay? Now, our teacher was Kisii, so when he will teach, she was a lady, when she will teach the girls French, she'll put an accent of Kisii. So these girls who scored A's on paper, wakienda symposium, watu wa starehe wanaangalia zile za nyinyi, what are you saying? But you see, that was the only platform they could learn French. They wholly relied on their teacher. Today you can learn French like the guy at France. Because it's online. You hear him speak. Okay? So you can see what kind of opportunities you are having. Lastly, the third highlight about your times is that interpersonal skills now are more highly rated than IQ. That is why, remember I told you character number 4 had very good interpersonal skills since he was young. And the father even did better, that he nurtured him in business for quite some years. So you find today, who are the CEOs? I can tell you, even in my organization. The people, we are the IQ guys, we are the technocrats, we are the ones who crack those things of tax and customs. But a lot of the guys in the top most level of management are the guys who score highest in interpersonal skills. They're the people who have PR. They're the people who know people values. So what am I saying? Develop holistically. Look for opportunities to develop holistically. How you speak, how you help. Some jobs you just get by reason of your character, how you help. I remember one time I used to work at the port and I met this young guy. He was working for Maersk. Maersk is a shipping line here in Mombasa. So he looked quite not like Maersk. You know, you can be working for Maersk, but you don't look like that company. So I could tell this was a new staff. So I used to interrogate him. And I could tell that he was coming from a very challenged background, and it's just like he had gotten the job So he had not yet transformed to look like Musk. So I asked him, how did you get a job in Musk? And he told me that one time he was tarmacking. He had tarmacked the whole of Mombasa. He comes from Western Kenya. So he's come here with no relative, solely to look for a job. So one day he's amechoma na hiyo jua, like today is a sunny day. And for those who've been to the port or those sides of the port, there's a lot of tarmac. Kwa tunasema jua ya huko ni kama times 3. Because it's like when this black tarmac absorbs the heat, inaitupa back. So he's been tarmacking at the port. Ameplead huko akapewa because you need a gate pass kuingia. Now as he leaves, he's feeling sorry for himself and thinking life is coming to an end. Musk is just after the port. So as he walks down, anaenda ashike Moi Avenue, akuje chini towards Digo Road, he sees a lady who's coming into Musk and the barrier is down and the soldier is not there. So what does he do? He runs to the barrier. He lifts the barrier up for the lady driving a Mercedes, apite. So he acts as the soldier. Then brings down the barrier. As he's walking out, the lady quickly parks. They have a small parking there and rushes to call the guy and calls him, hey, kuja. And the lady asks him, who are you? Says, I'm so and so. And the lady said, it's very kind of you. And the next thing, the lady is asking him, do you have a job? Do you work? Of course, she can see this guy maybe has not eaten for days. And the guy says, no, I'm actually from the port. I'm from looking for a kibarua. And the lady said, take my number, call me tomorrow, and I will advise you on what to do. That is how this boy secured a job in Musk. What was he doing as he was securing the job? He was just serving. So my last encouragement is desire to serve. Be a helpful person. The little you have can help somebody. You will be amazed. Sometimes we think we need more knowledge. No, what we need is more of a heart of service to begin to utilize what we have. I have talked about your job market is now the world. I've talked about utilizing technology and leveraging on it to learn more. Today, you can come from where I come from, where, my forefathers, where they come from, they wako na shida ya matamchi. Matamshi is called matamchi. Shi na chi. But you can come from there and learn through technology to speak pure Greek. So that's what technology can do for you. It's an asset. Utilize it. But it can also destroy. Be on the side that is utilizing technology. And number 3, I've said, look for opportunities to serve. Have a heart of service. Whatever you can find, your hands can find to do, do it. Right now, most of you are on holidays. Some holidays are long. What is it you're going to be doing? You need to find an opportunity to serve and actually begin to serve. So with that, I wind up there. I hand over the mic to Patrick. Or maybe before I do, I see I have 2 or 3 minutes. I can get your feedback. Any reactions? It doesn't have to be a question. It can just be a comment saying, hey, I have learned this. Or could you clarify on this issue? I will be glad to respond to your questions. Any questions that you have? Comments? It's a time to be bold. I know teenagers don't like to stand out, but it's part of interpersonal skills. and social skills to just speak your mind, say it. Okay, if there is none, any comment from that side? Okay, I hand it over to Patrick. Thank you.
Maybe I can ask a question on behalf of those who are home. What can they do, especially the class 4 and 8, because they have a whole 3 months plus at home? But maybe you can advise them, what can they do to learn as a skill, to acquire a skill, or even if they have talents, how can they tap into it? Because you see, most of them are going to be home, they have access to Wi-Fi, and maybe some of them want to learn something. Where can they go? Which site can they visit? That's the question.
Okay, good question. What will you be doing for those who are on long holiday? I think the starting point is always one, what do you have? I said in our house, we used to have a sewing machine. One of my brothers, the second brother who is now doing engineering, actually at some point between his college and going to the US, he started making sports equipment using that mama's machine. She used to sell gloves, punching bags. What is in that in your environment? And all of us, as I've said, we have different things in the environment. For some of us, maybe it's just a shop that your mom sells in, that you can begin to develop a business skill there as you help her. For other people, so the assignment you have is to look at your environment. What do you have? Let's begin from there. Some of you, maybe you have an environment of being able to plate. Like me, I'm pathetic. I score an E in plating. Okay? So maybe for you, maybe you have sisters or you have people who are in that industry and can teach you how to plate if you're a girl. Now, there are those with Wi-Fi. You can, what is the second thing will be, what is your interest? What are you gifted in? There are people who, the way God speaks is many times he puts a desire in you. So you'll find you've had just this desire, I like to learn this language. Or I like to learn how to make a pizza. You have the equipment to make a pizza. Or I like to know how to do certain artwork. It doesn't have to be expensive. If it's too expensive for your parents, that's not what God has designed for you to do this holiday. But the bottom line is, what can you do? Are there available equipment? And is it an interest that you would like to develop? If the two combine, you have the equipment, you have the tools, you have the interest, please pursue it. So it can be everyone will have a different journey, but all of it is valid. None is higher than the other. I remember for me, after Form 4, those days we used to stay for 1 year before we go to college. Remember, I had an interest in teaching people. And I'm the last born. The house did not have anyone by the time I was finishing Form 4. The rest were grown-ups. So what did I do? I just went, identified a need. So a few guys in the estate who needed their children to be coached. I approached them, the parents, they knew me, I had grown up there, they trusted me with the kids. I started teaching them. What was I doing? I was gaining experience in teaching as I impacted the life of another child. So it's a homework that you alone can do. Identify what is in your environment, identify your interests, use them to do something constructive. And of course, if you need any help, you have your teachers, reach out to them, tell them, teacher, this is what I'm thinking. How can I execute it? Sometimes you have the idea, but you don't know how to further it to be something constructive. Sawa sawa? Okay.
Hiyo inatosha. Hiyo inatosha. Let's appreciate Faith. You know, I want to take one more minute. I'll say this. Faith is kind of, you knew what we had before you was technology. There's someone who was here for like, he almost took 2 hours with them. Technology alone. Because actually technology is something that is there today and the future. Actually everything is almost going into technology. Running is in technology. Have you run something? Are you sure? You know, it's good for Faith to remind me that we go to school to run, how to run. We used to hear that from our late president, Mzee Moi. Every time there was a graduation ceremony, that is the time you are being given the power to read. Sawa, thank you so much. I don't want to take any more minutes because we are having lunch hour and I can see they're already set. So thank you so much, Faith. I'll kindly request Tracy, please come. So, watasimama, you read them in appreciating faith, and then immediately after that, you dismiss them to tender this side. Nobody goes that side, to tender this side to Igia. Waira rumpare. So, please.
Praise God. Praise God again. So on behalf of each and every person that is here today, we'd like to thank you, Madam Faith. I believe that we have all learned something. It's not easy being a teenager, but at least now we know that our destiny is secured in God. And through every challenge and every experience, we know that at the end of the day, it is Him that we're going to rely on. I'd like to kindly request all of us to stand up so that we can pray for the food. Kindly let us all rise.